Today, we're going to do some basic panel orientation. I'm going to come back at the beginning of September where it's kind of a repeat of this, but it'll be more of like building lesson plans and how to really teach from it. So today, what I really want y'all to be able to do is to come up, get the kids to the board, get it interactive, get them working on it. You feel comfortable with it and knowing how to switch it from like your desktop to using it as a tablet, because this can be a tablet on its own. Think of it like a big Android tablet or a smartphone. It kind of works in the same way. It's just kind of knowing how to navigate it. So today we're going to talk about all the navigation, but then we're going to spend some time on whiteboard and how you can start building lessons. So I've already got your emails. So I have been in education. This is my about 15th year. So I worked for Long County for a while. I've done middle school and fourth grade for many years. And then I was an AP at a charter school in Jacksonville. So I've been Google admin and I've done IT for a while because I became, when COVID hit, they're like, oh, you're going to be curriculum and IT AP now. So it's good that y'all are Google because the Promethean really does sync with all things Google. And you'll see that it kind of works seamlessly. We are also going to have today, I'm going to show you some screen share, like how to get your student's device. Or if you have the Chromebooks, like the teacher Chromebooks, you can actually teach from that and walk around your room. Do you have the Ride-On Slate Chromebooks as well? No, but either way, we'll get that and you can walk around and teach from it from anywhere in your classroom. And your students can connect as well. So I am just Promethean. I'm just here for Promethean, so I do all things Promethean. Usually I come in and I can troubleshoot. There's a lot of things I still have to get IT to come in for. But like if me and Lynn talk, usually I can say, hey, that's her problem. And then they know how to fix it quickly too. So whenever you go to your school website, every school website has my Promethean site here now. So if you go to teachers and Promethean help, this is my website, so it's all things Promethean. So you'll start with our active panel for teachers. That's where we're really learning today. There was some summer PD, and then if you're ready to move on, there's different things and softwares and things you can look at too. But everything that we do today, we have videos for. There's Learn Promethean videos, there's YouTube videos. I have tips and tricks and like really all kinds of cheat sheets, and this has links to more guides and more videos. Our YouTube channel is really good because you can go on the YouTube channel and search anything that you want to do. And like Learn Promethean is entire courses, but YouTube gives you 1 or 2 minutes of like, oh, this is what I want to do on my panel. How do I do that? So there's a lot of ways to get support and a lot of ways to learn with Promethean. So again, our goals today would be take 2 things away from your tool belt, be able to come up and teach from it, be comfortable, to bring in lessons, to quickly, even these are things you don't even really have to prepare ahead of time. So things you can do right there with your kids. And it's just quick ways to get them also interacting with their panel too, and coming up to the board in ways that we can get them working on activities. So there is 20 points of touch, and we'll kind of talk about that, but you could have 20 kids up here at one time. You're not going to do that, but you could. So you can have a group come up here. We're going to really talk about how you can split the screen and have 2 students up here working and interacting with the board. There's a lot of really cool things that we can do. It also comes with built-in speakers that you'll notice are really good. We're going to talk about all the buttons and unified menus today. The screen, it does get fingerprint. So think about just like your computer screen or a tablet screen. We have the microfiber cloths, and most media specialists have had that. That's the best way to clean it off. You can also use your eraser, the magnetic eraser. That's really good at getting smudges off. If you have like sticky smudges, there is a rubbing alcohol spray that you can get. Most media specialists have had that, but it is just the rubbing alcohol spray, and you would spray it on your cloth and then wipe the board down with it. So it's just your normal 70% alcohol, and you can get it in a spray form. But the cleaning, it lasts forever. And usually, honestly, your microfiber cloth can get off everything that you need it to. It also comes with stylus. So that might be, as an elementary school teacher, you may want to use the stylus and let your kids use their fingers. So it does come with multiple stylus, your touch and your erasers. You'll be able to see, hear, and touch from your cords. If you can't touch or if you can't hear, there's something going on with your cord. So if you're up here and you're displaying your desktop and something happened and you couldn't touch it anymore, your touch cable probably came out. So those kind of things are what you tell Lynn, and she'll come straight to me. So as we go today, we are in a small group, so I don't mind. You can stop and ask me questions as we go. These are just kind of the basics, but then once we get into deeper stuff, I'll do this once or twice. We'll repeat these steps, but also just stop me if you have questions. You can bring in other devices. There are USBs here, like if you have a wireless mouse or a wireless keyboard. There's also USBs in the back. Those work a little bit better. If you ask me, they kind of connect faster, the ones in the back. It also can connect to Bluetooth devices. So if you have a Bluetooth keyboard, or if you have like a presentation remote, the remote that comes with the panel literally is like your TV remote. It's going to control the panel, turn it off, things of that nature. But you can also have presentation remotes that you plug in straight to the panel. We talked about this proximity sensor, and what that does is when you first come in, it sees the lights. This pops up white, this turns red. You can quickly turn it on that way. If that does not happen and this is white, just press and hold until it boots up. And sometimes it takes longer than you would think it would. So down here, you have actual physical buttons. So you have volume, this unified menu. Your unified menu is kind of where we're going to live today. But what's really neat about Promethean is they make it on all sides of the board. So no matter where you like to teach from, there's always customizations to where you can move to where you're comfortable. This freeze button is a snowflake. It freezes what's ever on your screen.
That's another one you problem. That my freeze button doesn't work.
Your freeze button doesn't work. Okay, we'll look at that too.
Thank you.
We'll definitely look at that too. And then there's a no touch button. The difference in the no touch is whatever you're doing on your desktop, it's still going to move. But like, let's say you had something up for centers, or you're doing something and you have some kids by the board, that no touch will disable them being able to touch and move things on the panel. And that's a lot for elementary. I see that used a lot in elementary schools. Right, again, this is your remote and it controls the panel. It's not a presentation remote, but you can buy that separately if that's something that you like to use. Okay, so far, I know you've asked me some questions, but are there any other basic questions that you've been in your room and you're like, I really don't know how to do this? Okay.
Never mind.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, once I got towards the end of the year, that's when I started noticing all the other gadgets that was on the food.
Okay.
And it would have been helpful if I was known that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until the end of the year, like the graphing paper, all
that stuff. Yeah. And so you might be ahead of the game because we're going to kind of learn all that this year. And then when I come back for intermediate, I'm going to teach y'all settings, and we're going to talk more about building lessons and all of that too. So you'll probably learn a lot. But we started installing these, and I didn't actually come in the county until January of this year. So I really got started in February, and it was a lot of installs. So this year will be a lot more of professional development and ways that we can use it. Because we have websites, we have software, we have the panel. So we're going to really learn how to use all things Promethean this school year.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you'll really like that. So for right now, we're going to kind of live in the unified menu, and we're going to really talk about each part and what it does. So again, you can get it from anywhere on your screen with the arrows. Right now, I'm connected to my HDMI 2, which is my desktop. But from now on, I'm moving to home, and we're going to work in this home screen. So this is where it becomes an Android tablet separate from your computer. My computer does not even have to be turned on for me to be able to use this and navigate from it. So when you're looking at your main menus, the first thing you see is your locker. Your locker holds all of your apps. So everything that you can use and have on Promethean is all of your apps. There's also the Google Play Store, which I don't see it here, but IT has enabled that. So now that we're in panel management, they're pushing updates and they're allowing things like the Google Play Store. So that's something that you should start seeing, and you should be able to start downloading additional apps now to your panels. one of the main things that we use is this timer and spinner. So when you have the timer, you can actually bring up 4 timers at a time, 1 to 4. On the panel, just like on any website computer where you see the arrows, if you push that, it brings it into big mode, game show mode. So you can actually edit these, and let's say that you have warm-ups or unpacking if you're switching classes. So each day I want 5 minutes, and that tells my students this is their warm-up time. All right, I can do center rotations. You can really save your timer so that every day when you open your timers, the timers that you want come up. So you're not constantly setting your time. So that's really cool. You can do a lot of customization type stuff with that. So with your timer, it will count down. You have options to turn the sound on and off. You can do analog if you really want to confuse everybody. But digital is usually the best. There's also a stopwatch, which will count up. And then there's the clock. So you can have a clock going and a timer going. And again, it's an analog clock. So you can change it from analog to digital, and you can decide if you want seconds and sound. Because once it goes off, and then that kind of takes that out of your hands. So you're switching classes, or hey, we're doing warm-ups. You have 5 minutes to do that. That's not something that you're constantly reminding them to do. The board's doing it for you. So really time management and things of that nature, even like your centers, we're doing 10-minute centers. When this goes off, we're going to start cleaning up, and then you have 2 minutes to switch. So just time management will help you out a lot, especially if you're in third through 5th grade where you're switching classes. You can keep the timer up, but there's also a spinner. And it basically works in the same way as the timer. You can make it big, bring it into game show mode. Again, you can have 4 of these. You can have a timer and a spinner going. What's really cool about the spinner is there's a lot of options. So you can do student names, and you just kind of spin it, let it go. When you look at the actual menu, here is this pencil, and you can edit this and add as many as you need to. So if you have 20 something in your class, you can add names. You can change this and even rename it like class 1, class 2, and save that. You can actually come in and create new spinners. So you can create them in many different ways. There's even ways to teach from this that we'll talk about. There's also numbers. So if you teach multiple classes, like in 3rd through 5th grade, and you give your kids numbers, you can actually edit that again and add as many numbers as the kids in your class. And then you don't have a different spinner for every class. Now you're calling them by their numbers. So I don't know about y'all, but I always have popsicle sticks, and they'd fall on the ground, or I didn't have the right class, or something would happen, or the kids, that's not my name. So that kind of takes that away from you. It's up here. They can't really argue with it. So you can do names or numbers. To call on students is usually the best way. But there's also these settings. So you can turn it to where the sound comes on for the spinner, which they really like the sound, but also select item once. So if I'm doing like round robin reading, I might want to select item once where it's not going to call on student 10 again. But if I'm just asking questions and calling on them just to answer, take this select item once off, because now it might call on that same student 4 or 5 times, but then they're not checking out. Especially your 3rd through 5th graders, they're going to start to know, oh, it's already chose me once, so I don't have to pay attention anymore. So those are also settings. So it's also very customizable about things that you can do and how you can change it. And it kind of takes it out of your hands, and now the kids can't get, oh, she's picking on me. No, it's called on me. Another way to use it, which is really cool, is so you can have one up with your kids, and for example, like if you're teaching alphabet. So you could go through and call on the student and call on the letter, have them tell you the letter, tell you the sound. It comes with consonants, vowels. You can actually come in and do sight words. You could do vocabulary words for the week. Like, so what is our sight words for the week? What are our vocabulary words for the week? And you can make a new one each week or even save a different one each week and review that way. This is even a good review for if you're in third through fifth grade and you have some that are still struggling with basic phonics. This could become a center right away to where they're telling you the letter, the sound, the consonant, the vowel, and you're kind of like building those skills. But in primary, I've seen it really be used a lot to teach from. That's everything we've finished. Now, if we go back to our locker, another app that you're going to use a whole lot is this Chromium. So Chromium is like your Google Chrome app, like on your phone or on a tablet. So anywhere that you can go to on the internet, you can bring up in Chromium. So this is how I can bring up my videos. I could bring up my curriculum site. I could literally teach from this, bring up everything we need and never touch my desktop. And that's kind of the beauty of it is it's a big tablet that's just on your board. There's no projector. There's no connections.
So my question is, have the system been updated to be able to do that from the Promethean? Because when I tried to do it, because I noticed in some rooms, they only have 2 ways.
Okay. If that, I'm doing a whole day where I'm coming and floating. I've done this in this building before, but I think we updated like once. And so there's probably more updates. So what I would do for those old panels is I will come physically update them. And then once we get those updated, IT now has them on panel management where they'll be able to push updates. But like that could also be your issue with the time in and time out. So when I come to float, like I'll come and do a PL day, and then the next day I come and float through everyone's classroom, usually during your planning periods. If you're there, I'll be glad to give you a little tutorial, help you out. But either way, I'll come and look at all your stuff, look at all your connections, look at what version you're running on and things of that nature. Like me and Lynn really did a lot of that last year, but we've had additional updates since then. So.
And we didn't really touch the old boards. We just did a lot of it. Well, we did that one old board.
Well, and we had so many new panels being installed. I think some of the old panels just we need to go back through and really get and touch those and update those. So I will come around to do that.
And some of the old panels might need to look at those connections because the speakers weren't working on them because they didn't have the right things that you're talking about.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure, like if you want your speakers, because do y'all have the PA system in the ceiling? Okay, that makes it more complicated too. But to me, the Promethean panel speakers are very loud. They are very, like, you're gonna like those. And if it's an old PA system, it's probably gonna work better. So I can even change that and switch those settings for you.
I mean, it works fine. Okay, so let me give a rundown. I enjoy using my board. It's like this, I'm going into my 3rd year of using the weekend board. So I think my problem was the in and out, which we've already talked about that. I wanted to also be able to use like the Chromium or the Google Chrome to type in. It's one of the pieces, one of the items out of the locker. I was trying to type on the board and it would not allow me to actually type in. I think when I did the spinners, I was able to do it, the spinners, but it was something else that I couldn't do. And then the speakers work fine, but then the volume is like you have to turn it up real loud for one thing, and then you have to turn it back down for something else. And then
Yeah.
one of the speakers was working, and then the other one wasn't. So I didn't know.
And see, for you, that might mean that it's better to choose your PA speaker. But when you're switching, just like on your computer, when you're switching from one website to another, the sound can change.
Okay.
So when we're in your room, if we see that your PA system is working better and more consistently, then we can keep that hooked up. So we can really do it by classroom too. What's your last name?
Ozell.
Okay. All right. Because I'll make sure that I come and see, especially you two, even if we can. We have several we're going to walk through today. So maybe even today, if we can get in there.
Okay.
Because I'd like y'all to be able to use it correctly for the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you have an old one too, don't you? Yeah.
Also, last year, the problem we were running into, and another reason why we couldn't do some of the updates on the older panels here, was it wasn't connected to the Ethernet. So now they've done Ethernet drops and connected it straight to the internet. So when we didn't have internet connected, the panel almost couldn't work as a tablet by itself. So that was a major issue we had last year, and we couldn't even physically do the updates to the older panels because we didn't have internet to the panels. So that's something that they started fixing over the summer and over the end of last year, so that now we have Ethernet drops. So that's going to kind of change your life too.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, so that's the main thing in the lockers. For the owner, I do want to show you where we're going to send out some instructions, and this is something that you could really help your team with, because you can make a teacher profile where we can connect your Google Drive. And once you do that, it kind of almost is seamless into, you can make new folders. You can do a lot of new stuff. So I'm going to do it on the board, and then I'm going to like disconnect myself. You will be getting a video and step-by-step instructions, but if you could go ahead and help your team do this, you'd kind of you'd be ahead of the game, and you'll see once you sync your Google, everything just kind of falls into place. So you start with an owner. The owner is not going to be locked. So if you go to this gear and you do add user, and everything again that I'm doing today, you will get an email with step-by-step instructions for. So I'll make sure that I include this in your orientation instructions. But now I can set this up now. And it's going to switch me to my own profile. And this really personalizes your board. So if you hit that gear again, I can change this, and I would just make it generic teacher. That's what we've done for everybody. If you want to put your name, you're welcome to do that. The biggest thing is this lock. The biggest thing is the lock. So when you go to screen lock, you're going to do pin, and you're going to look at your phone, and it's going to be your 4-digit extension number. Your phone number will be your pin. But it's important to put your pin and lock it down, especially 4th and 5th grade and older kids, because they know how to get in. They could get into your drive and possibly into your classroom and things of that nature. So if we lock it with a pin, kind of takes that away. So I'm just gonna put in ones for this one, because I'm gonna delete all this when I leave. But I really want to show you how it works. So I've chose my pin, and now I'm on my teacher. Now I'm going to go to cloud. So now I can connect my Google Drive, and I only have to do this once. So once I do this today, if this was my panel, I would never have to do it again. And it is long, so thank goodness we don't have to do this every day. And I even have to look at it and make sure I've done it right. And you'll notice on this panel side, there's always a keyboard that comes up. We're going to talk about your desktop side and how to get a keyboard. And that may have been your issue last year. So I'm going to show you that too over here. But then you click allow. Now, anytime that I'm logged in and I come to my teacher profile, I hit my cloud and I can get straight into my Google Drive. So I can get here. I can see all my files. I can open from here. I can make new folders. I can do everything straight from here now. You can also get to it from under locker and files. But also you're going to see when we're in whiteboard and we're doing things, you can constantly get back to your Google Drive.
Now, let me ask you this, if you don't mind me asking.
No, not at all.
Only for the meeting board at that particular school that particular site, school site, or can you access that through any school that you may be?
So this is for your panel in your classroom.
Okay.
So this is your panel in your classroom. So what you can do if you do move classrooms, or like if you have like a co-teacher that comes in, or anyone ESC, a para, anybody that comes in, you can do that in 2 ways. You can add additional profiles here if it's someone who's always in your room teaching. If it's just I'm moving for the day, or I'm in here sometimes. The other way to do it is if you go to your Chromium. So sometimes like Google Slides won't really open directly on the board. There may be some files that don't want to open directly on the board. So it's really good if you can go in here and also sign into the Chromium part. And all I did was settings and passwords. So I'm making sure that this will save my passwords. But just like on any computer, on any panel, you can go to Chromium and you can go to Just go to drive.google.com or classroom.google.com or Google accounts. It's gonna bring you to your Google accounts. And you can sign in. And just like on a computer, once I do this once, it will also save me in that web browser. So if you have a student teacher, if you have a co-teacher, anybody like that, they can get into their drive this way, but also Google Slides or sometimes like JPEGs will usually open, but if it's a different kind of image file, sometimes it doesn't want to open just right. And so that's why it's good to also be signed into the web browser too. Also, on this keyboard, you can switch back and forth to numbers and letters, but if you do a long hold, it will also type in letters for you. You just have to make sure that it's right if it's not showing it. Okay. All right. So now I could stay into my Google Drive. I could like bookmark this, and I could even, if I went to classroom.google.com, it would keep me logging into my classroom too at all times. And you can bookmark that. So that's two ways to get logged in. So the first way with your cloud is straight to your board, and this is through like the Google Chrome app. But if you do both ways, now all things Google, all things Drive can quickly be accessed from your board without your desktop. Okay, so that's our Drive. Again, we are home. If I want to get back to my computer, there's a button here and the source here, and it's your HDMI too. Then anytime that I come back and I hit home, now it's a tablet by itself. The next part is really cool, is the whiteboard. The whiteboard is what he was talking about. It has really good features. It can do a lot of stuff. This is where you're going to live to begin with, and you can basically do anything that you want to do, teach any lesson that you want to teach right from here. So I'm going to show you all things whiteboard. Yes.
Okay, so I live on the whiteboard. So one thing I noticed that when I start certain things that I want to leave up there, how long does it stay? Because I noticed it can stay for a good little while, meaning like days on end, and then I'll go back and look for it and it's gone.
So it will stay on there until you physically hit new. So it doesn't matter if I were to close out of here 5 times. Until I hit new, or until I open one that I've already saved, it will stay on here forever.
Yeah, to my knowledge, when I was using it, I did that, but not while I was given like a whole line of notes and vocabulary. And when we went back to look at some of the things we had already covered, I noticed all of it was gone.
Okay, so I'll show you today kind of how to save it.
Okay.
And we can also export it as a PDF where you can put it straight into your Google Classroom and your Google Drive.
Okay.
So I'll show you that today too. That's another reason why if you have your Google Drive connected, you now can save your whiteboard. So if it does accidentally get X'd out, you have it ready to go. So I did a new one. And the first thing I'll show you is this little number sign. This is actual paper. So you have handwriting paper. There's college rule paper, grid paper, fraction paper. There's even handwriting paper with the little houses. But what you'll notice is a lot of times, just like in the classroom, oh, I can't see, I need to come up to the board, I can't see these notes. So what's really cool about the whiteboard is you can change the line colors, but you can also change that background color. So can't you see it so much better now? And so that kind of takes out that, I need to come sit right under the board because I can't see and I can't take notes. So that kind of will eliminate that. This is your pen, this is your highlighter. You have multiple colors you can choose from. So I could start notes for class today. All right. And then what you'll notice is if you're trying to scroll and this happens, it's just because you're not on your cursor. So get on your cursor, and it can go infinitely. It goes up, it goes down, it won't stop. So it's not like a smart where you have to open 20 different ones. This can go and go and go and go. The next thing that's really cool is your gallery. So within your gallery, there's already preloaded charts and templates ready to go. You can bring in as many of these as you want. So I could bring in two of the same ones. I could bring in two different ones. I can actually move them up and down. You can zoom them in and out. So as the teacher, if I brought in this one and it's compare and contrast, so let's say we're going to do the book versus the movie. Now, this is the end of the year stuff. You know, and or you can do compare. If you're kind of doing a compare, contrast. You can also do the same thing with your Venn diagram. But what's really neat is now I've already written on it. So you see these two little people here? I can split my screen. And when I split my screen, now two students could come up here and fill this in at the same time. So when we talk about 20 points of touch, you could actually have 20 people up here writing at the same time. And even because there's a line, they can still fill out the middle. So if it's a Venn diagram, they can still both work on the middle of the Venn diagram and their outsides. But when they do this clear all, so there's always an eraser, but then there's always a clear all for everything on Promethean, you'll notice. But they can't erase what you wrote. So I'm going to do another, I like to do this fraction example. So now I'm going to unsplit my screen. I can tap anything, the trash can takes it away. Again, I'm going to come back to gallery, charts and templates, and I'm going to come and bring in a couple different fractions. And as the teacher, I can zoom this in, I can split it. I can write the problems ahead of time. So if I want them to do 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, all right, 1/4, well, let's see. Okay, so now I've kind of written what I want them to do. Now, if I split the screen, I can move them to a highlighter. Does anyone want to come erase? Anyone want to come up? Want to erase? Come on, erase. All right. So just pick a side. No, come on. I need to. So I put you in a highlighter so you can choose your color and work on the first problem given. Oh, that's kind of cheating because you had 1 versus 4. There's something going on with that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so then they've done this. We can talk about it now. Hit that clear all, the one right here. Yep, clear all, and it'll clear theirs. Now they can go back, and I can call 2 more up. So then you can move on to the next one. And then when you're done, you just unsplit that screen. You can leave this up here, or again, anything that you can bring on. And if you're tapping and it's doing this, remember you need to go to your cursor. But I can take that and delete that now.
So if I wanted to prep lessons for, let's say, the following day, I could go in, put those images in, save it to my drive, and then pop it back up?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I was going to look at the protractor, ruler.
Yes.
I had problems trying to maneuver that around. I mean, I was able to get it up there, but as far as moving it around, it seemed like it was
Yes.
doing.
You
something.
have, I want to show you, you have to do it with 2 hands.
Okay,
And you have to get like really good at it. Like it's really tough.
okay,
It's really tough. So also what I've noticed is when I do that, if I go to, if you have a clear background versus the paper background, because when you have the paper background, it's trying to move too.
okay.
So like the ruler is not that hard because you can, but you have to take 2 fingers and pinch it. So you can flip it to inches, centimeters, make it level, but you have to use 2 hands.
Okay, so what if you just want to move it?
So if you just want to move it, you can see even with 1 finger, it's almost easier to just have 2 fingers, 1 on each side of it. Because even with 1 finger, see, it works sometimes, and then sometimes when you start, it starts flipping it. So it's also touching it in the middle versus touching it on the edge. Because if you touch it on the edge, it starts rotating. If I touch it in the middle, it moves. So it's really getting comfortable with it. But also if you touch it on the edge, you see how I can That's cool. I hadn't even done that before. So I didn't even know it could do that. So it's really getting like comfortable with it. And I hate to say that, but it is. Now, these are really cool because I can, I'm gonna clear out this. But with this, I can again zoom it in or out. But again, I've noticed you have to have 2 fingers. And when you start zooming it, it kind of takes it from that 0. And it's kind of hard to get it back to that 0. So it's really just playing with it. But this middle part too, it all means something different. So if I come to the outside with the red, it will do that for me. And I could exit out and have it still there. If I move this and I change this to the blue will do like a line, and you can actually do 2 lines with it. And then the green actually like fills out the outside. So it did like the whole outside, or you can do a portion of the outside. So it's really cool because you can actually get with it, but it took me a while to even be able to do what I'm doing right now. Like it's been several trainings. When I first came, I'm like, well, I don't even want to touch that. So it's really just using 2 fingers and getting comfortable with it and making sure that all your smudges are off. Because I've noticed too, if there's a bunch of fingerprints and smudges, it can mess it up too. But every program we have has that. So like even when we get in Active Inspire, it's easier to work with it in like Active Inspire. But okay, so the next thing is your gallery. So this is probably my biggest selling feature as a teacher. What I like the most is your gallery. So right now we have nothing in our gallery. I'm going to go to my locker and I'm going to go to Chrome. Anything that I can search. So I can go just to my regular Google search. Anything that I can search and bring up, like a main idea graphic organizer. And this can be Teachers Pay Teachers. This can be an image on Google. This can be your curriculum website. This could be from Eureka Math. This could be a brain pop. This could be your worksheet that you're working on for the day. Anything that you can bring on the board, you can take a screenshot of. So if I really like this one, and if it's fuzzy, you may have to choose a different image, but this is really cool. So just like on your smart device, you can take a screenshot. This capture, you can take a screenshot. So you can zoom it in. You can even take out who the publisher is if it's like a worksheet and you don't want them to look at the answers, because we know 5th graders will. And then you open that whiteboard. So now I have any graphic organizer, anything that I can bring in from the web. And this is where having internet to the panel makes such a big difference with how I can teach with it. And then again, I can scroll and move this. And if I go back to my gallery, anything I ever screenshot will be here until you physically delete it. So even if it was my worksheet for the day, let's say we were doing a fractions worksheet for the day, and I want to make sure that they have my workbook. So a lot of times, we bring up the curriculum site and the website stops working, or the internet's going slow, or so if you just do this once at the beginning of the day, you'll have it the rest of the day. So no matter what happens, I can have this fraction worksheet up and ready to go with my next class. So again, that was with capture. You can zoom it in to however you want it. And then done, open and whiteboard. And it's there for me. So me and this class could fill it in. And the next class that comes in, the next class that comes in, I can clear it and have it ready for my next class. Now, I could also take this and where we were talking about save. So if you do save as Google Drive, and I actually made my own, you can go new folder, whiteboard. So I've made my own, and I'm going to do fraction. Let's just pretend that this is a workbook page number 22. And that will save right to my panel. Now, if I wanted to put it into Google Classroom, so you can save straight to your Google Drive, straight to your panel. What's really good about your Google Drive is it's going to stay there forever. Whereas if I put it all on my panel and yours is an old panel and it breaks down, you've lost all your things that you've created. Whereas if I have my Google Drive, I'm never going to lose anything. But also this export. So if it's one page, you can export it as a screenshot, but you can also export it as a canvas. So when you do that PDF export, save to device, again, your Google Drive, I can come and save this as a PDF, which means it's going to go in my drive. Well, then I can go to my computer, go to my drive, and just move it straight to my classroom. Because when it's a PDF, it can go into Classroom. So you could have all the notes for today in your Google Classroom for tomorrow. So for kids who miss, or you know how we're always referring back to notes, you can actually push that to their classroom so that they can always pick up those notes that you were doing yesterday. So that's what's really cool about having your drive connected and having internet connected. So you're going to really see, you're going to love it a whole lot more now that we have all these features updated and ready to go. Okay, the next thing is I will show you, so there is this annotate. And annotate is like if you want to quickly write over something. It's not something you want to save. It's not something that you want to see later. It's not even something that you want to stick. So you can write over any website, highlight, write, and do the same thing we were just doing. The limitations of it is when you're trying to start scrolling, this happens. If you click that I, now you can scroll. The problem is when I unclick that I, all my writing is going to stick to where it was and not to the object that it's on. So this is like if you quickly want to write over something, quickly write over a website, but it's not something you want to stick. Whereas with my whiteboard, if I move this, the writing goes with it. So that's kind of your limitations of your annotate that you'll see. It's just if you're quickly writing over something, you want to move on. But also remember that I, because a lot of people are Xing out and going back in, Xing out and going back in.
Yeah. Which one?
It's just this eyeball. And when you click that eyeball, now it will let you scroll and move and go to something else.
Okay.
Instead of like Xing out every time. There's also this recent apps, and anything that you've done recently will pop up here. And it will stay there. But let's say I even close out of my whiteboard. So I've closed out of my whiteboard and I don't have it up anymore. It's not my recent. If I go back to my whiteboard, this is what I was talking about. It will stay until you physically go new. So it would stay until tomorrow. I've had some that come in, brand new teachers. We opened the whiteboard the first time. They're like, well, I don't know what all this is. It was from last year. But if it's something you know you want to see again, save it just to be sure. Because let's say something, your board came unplugged or something like that, that could, you know, be a conflict of interest. So there's always also an undo and redo. So no matter what, you can always undo and redo on this program. What questions do you have about the whiteboard? Is that it's going to be clicking on it, it's going to be looking at it, but mainly living in your gallery, your screenshots, and your templates and your paper. But do you see how whiteboard, I could quickly get my lessons ready in 2 minutes. I could quickly bring anything in, even if it was remediation, I can go to the web and bring that in. Earlier, I had a map of Africa that was like with labels and everything. So literally anything you can bring up, you can screenshot, you can capture. All right, the next thing I want to make sure that we talk about is the screen share. So with the screen share, as a teacher, all you have to do is open screen share and it will give you a code. This does not have to be up. It will give you a code. What I've noticed is that code will stay the same for that one day. And then it changes for the next day. So as a teacher, you're on home, you're on screen share. I'm going to show you as the student, and if you have a device with you, you can follow along with me. So on your device, this is what your students would have to do one time, or you as a teacher on your teacher device, your Chromebook, you're gonna do this once. So one time you go to Google, and I'm just gonna move this because this is the teacher side of it. So what I'm doing right now is what you do on the device you want to connect. So one time you're going to search Promethean screen share. And it's the first one that comes up on Google, and I'm gonna walk around here to make sure you have it. And then it should say add to Chrome. What's really cool is, once you add this to Chrome one time, no matter what profile you're in, you can be in multiple students' profiles. But once you, just do Promethean screen share, I'll help you. So once you do this and add this extension one time, here's bringing up all kinds of stuff. You never have to do it again, and that's what's really cool about it. Get that one up there. Okay, add to Chrome. And it just says, add extension. Okay, you already have it, you're good.
I just got it.
You're good. Here, look at you, you're ready to go. All right, now you're gonna come to your puzzle piece. And type in that number that's on the board. 8466 846654. 846654. And then you type in your name on the push. So if you go to now, it will always be on the puzzle. You come here. And now you type in your number. So now it will stay right here in the puzzle. And you come here. And you type in the number up there. So again, it's yeah. 846654. So I'm gonna come back as the teacher. This is what you would be seeing. 846654. And then I'm gonna come help you. Yeah, and first name, last name, whatever you want to appear on the board. Yeah, I might would just do my last name. I don't know. I remember when I first started teaching, kids didn't know your first name. They didn't know that you had a first name. They didn't know you were married. They didn't know like your life exists. Now these kids know everything. And then and this will share your screen, and this will share your audio. I can now click on this, and then share audio, and then share. Now, the trick is you can select your screen and then select audio and share. That's all the yeah. Now, you may not want your kids to always share audio, but as the teacher, I would always share audio. So now up here, and I know it's hard to see these numbers, but I can, and these little people, I have 5 people connected and waiting for me. So if this is your device, you can choose that one and hit share. And now anything that's on your device, how do you say your last name? Narachi. Anything she does and moves around, I can't touch it from here, but anything that she does, she can walk around her room, move it around, and we can see what she's doing. At any time, you can come back and hit the people. And now I could select up to 4 screens to share at one time. So now you could share 4 kids at one time. And whatever they're doing, you're going to see it. So let's say you're doing peer reviews and they've written a really good sample. You can do that on here. If they've done a group work where they've used Google Slides and they've done this really cool group project, you can have them project it right from their table. They can move around top for a minute. Even if it's like a really good example, like Johnny did an amazing job on this in his Google Classroom whatever the assignment was. You can have them come and share. So you have all the control though, so the kids can't just take this over. You have control over who, when, at any time you can come back to here. You can deselect and select more. There's something like 60 something devices. So you can literally have everybody in your room connected. Also, you could use this as an element of surprise if they're doing group work or working on their Chromebooks. Have them connected. At any time, I can go into Mr. Green and I can see what he's doing because we know he's not doing what he's supposed to. So you can use it that way too. But also, let's